It's Monday, June 15, and this is News Update. Coming up. Black Lives Matter protests escalated into chaos and violence at the weekend. Hundreds queue as shops reopen in England. Households and buildings in the UK went green for Grenfell's 3rd anniversary. Atlanta police shooting of black man was a homicide according to examining coroner. Yemen faces the worst humanitarian crisis. And in sport, English football's top flight returns this week after a 3-month hiatus. Black Lives Matter protests across the country this weekend took place, despite pleas to stay home due to the COVID-19 pandemic and far-right fears. Events escalated in London after hundreds of demonstrators, some of whom belonged to far-right groups, clashed with the police in Parliament Square. Videos on social media show protesters, most of them white, throwing bottles, cans and smoke canisters at mounted police officers. However, a group of anti-racism activists came out as heroes from the chaos in the capital as they helped to wipe counter-protester to safety during the race-inspired violence in central London. This image of grandfather Patrick Hutchinson and 4 of his friends, who are part of a close protection group Arc Security, has gone viral overnight. Huge queues were reported across England as shops welcomed back customers after a 3-month lockdown. With huge queue sizes, shops like Primark had to open an hour earlier. Meanwhile, families couldn't wait to get back to ZSL London Zoo in Regent's Park, with just under 2,000 tickets being sold for today. Zoos and safari parks across the country are welcoming back visitors after a difficult lockdown for the sector, while some secondary school pupils will begin returning to their classrooms. At the same time, passengers on public transport will be required to wear face coverings from today, as the pace of activity begins to pick up. To mark the 3rd anniversary of the devastating Grenfell Tower fire, buildings and households went green for Grenfell as a mark of remembrance, compassion and solidarity. Virtual events also took place online to commemorate those who had been affected by the deadly blaze that claimed 72 lives 3 years ago. Music superstar Adele shared a heartbreaking video for the anniversary.
And even though we're having to do this in the virtual world, online, on 2020 Zoom Live as it is, it's still so important for us to mourn together and for us to remember that night and to reflect on that and also reflect on where we are now with that, but also to celebrate the lives that were lived before they were sadly taken that night.
Alright, I think you've had too much to drink to be driving, so put your hands behind your back for me. Yeah, put your hands behind your back.
The death of Rashaad Brooks, a 27-year-old black man killed by a white police officer in Atlanta on Friday, was a homicide caused by gunshot wounds to the back, according to the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. Brooks' death reignited protests in Atlanta after days of worldwide demonstrations against racism and police brutality, prompted by the death of George Floyd, an African American in Minneapolis police custody in May.
I firmly believe that there is a clear distinction between what you can do and what you should do. I do not believe that this was a justified use of deadly force and have called for the immediate termination of the officer.
A post-mortem examination conducted on Sunday showed that Brooks, 27, died from blood loss and organ injuries caused by 2 gunshot wounds, an investigator involved in the examination said. It's been 100 days since the last Premier League game was played. The league, suspended in mid-March because of the COVID-19 pandemic, conducted vigorous testing and gradual contact training resumes this week. At a time when the European Championship should be taking place, the Premier League will play the remaining 92 games behind closed doors over the next 6 weeks. 2 games will take place on Wednesday, June 17 to kick off the league's return, with Aston Villa hosting Sheffield United, one of this season's surprise packages. Meanwhile, league leaders Liverpool top the table by a mammoth 25 points, and their wait for a First League title in 30 years is almost over.